Today on Mr. Media, I'll talk to actress Erica Durance, who played Lois Lane for many years on Smallville and is back on network TV tonight, January 11th, with a role on NBC's quirky legal drama Harry's Law, which airs Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Stick around. You know it won't take me long before I slip and say something wholly inappropriate to a beautiful woman. So much media, so little time. Who keeps track of it all? That would be me. This is Bob Andelman, and this is a Mr. Media interview. You know, MrMedia.com, MRmedia.com. Stop by and check it out. There are more than 900 archived celebrity and pop culture interviews for your listening pleasure. Mr. Media is recorded live before a studio audience of comic book fanboys who can barely handle looking at George Perez drawings of Wonder Woman, let alone gaze for more than a fleeting moment at Erica Durance actually dressed as the Amazonian in the new media capital of the world, St. Petersburg, Florida. If you thought Erica Durance was too hot to handle during 7 years of playing reporter Lois Lane on TV's long-running Smallville, wait till you get a load of her tonight, kicking bad guy butt, dressed as Wonder Woman on the latest episode of Harry's Law on NBC at 9 p.m. This particular Wonder Woman costume is suspiciously similar to the one designed for David E. Kelley's failed NBC TV pilot from last year. And no disrespect to Adrianne Palicki, the actress who wore the suit then, but Durance will make hearts flutter wildly when you see her in it. Kelley, who produces Harry's Law and is best known as the creator of Boston Legal, The Practice, and Ally McBeal, obviously knows opportunity when he sees it. Now, I have no idea how the plot of Durance's guest starring role opposite Kathy Bates and Nate Cordry turns out, but it's delightful to know she's doing the opposite of putting distance between herself and the DC universe of superheroes. Erica Durance, welcome to Mr. Media.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Delighted. Now, I know everyone wants to know about the Wonder Woman suit, but I'm also kind of curious about what drew you to a role as a victim of domestic violence who would put on such an outfit.
Well, thanks for asking that. I know the Wonder Woman costume angle is so great, and that whole part of the character is great. But I would be lying if I didn't say the chance to work with David E. Kelley was very, very tempting. And when they called about this, I just thought, what an interesting entry point into dealing with something like domestic violence, and there isn't a woman around that hasn't actually either dealt with it herself or had family or friends that have had to deal with that issue. And so for some reason this just spoke to me, and I just love the way that he made this character come alive.
Did you worry in first talking about the role and reading the role, because Harry's Law and Ally McBeal, these shows tend to be legal and they have serious moments, but they also have those comedic moments as well, and domestic violence, you don't want to be in the position of making fun or making it seem funny.
Yeah, and I think that, again, had it been anybody else, perhaps not, but I think that he just does such a great job of walking that line and finding the tongue-in-cheek in the proper moment. And, of course, it would be, I think anybody's concern is not to make it a laughing matter, but it's all the other situation around it and everybody else's reaction. But she is, as the character, does not perceive herself as funny or making light of it. It's truly her choice and her way of dealing with the things that she had to go through, and it's her way of getting her life back. And I don't think there's a person out there that hasn't dreamed of that eye for an eye kind of justice, whether it's appropriate or not. We've all been to some moment where we have that knee-jerk reaction. And, of course, then on TV you are allowed to play with those ideas a little bit.
It looks like it must have been an interesting role for you, in that I've seen two clips. In one, you're in the Wonder Woman outfit and you're literally punching a guy out, and in the other, you're on the witness stand and you're giving this very moving testimony. So it does. I guess it does get to both sides of the coin.
Yeah, it really does, and Annie Bilson has so many different layers, and I think that again, it was such a great opportunity, and I felt a certain amount of real responsibility to represent the situation as best as I know how and as honestly as I know how, to bring a little bit more light onto something that is still out there and still, very, very much alive in society.
Now, Nate Cordry's character defends your character on the show, and he's been on Mr. Media. Seems like it'd be a very fun guy to work with, but is that all an act?
Oh no, he's great fun. He has an excellent sense of wit and humor, and got me into trouble quite a few times because he, of course, can he can keep a straight face and yet be very comical, and I laugh at the drop of a hat usually. So we had quite a few little moments and hijinks and that sort of thing. But he is really lovely to work with, and he's a lot of fun. He doesn't take himself seriously, and you need that kind of, at least I do, need that kind of environment when I'm working in TV and stuff like that.
Now, I got to ask you, and I know I'm not the first to bring this up, but I mean, you spent 7 years as Lois Lane. Then here we are, we're talking about you dressing up as in the Wonder Woman costume. You must have had a little hesitation about that, no?
You know what? I kind of am one of those jump into the deep end with both feet. I believe that there's things that keep coming your way given what you've done, and I look at each situation differently, and she is different. But it was such a great opportunity, and I just went, I kind of go with my gut on it. And sure, there's always a little bit of a nervousness and that sort of thing, but I usually continue forward when I'm fearful instead of running away from it. And whether that ends up working out well for me or not, I don't know. But I had such a great time working on the show.
And of course, now you must have a lifetime pass for Comic-Con.
I suppose I could. I haven't called them, but I have heard that the floor show there is pretty amazing, and I didn't get a chance. I've been there a couple of times. I didn't get a chance to walk around, but it was apparently just incredible, the things that they offer for people to see. And who knows? Maybe I'll show up there incognito someday. Or since I dress up so much just as me, and nobody will know.
Well, I kind of wondered about. It's funny. This is completely unrelated, but last night I watched Celebrity Wife Swap with Flava Flav. And I looked at him and I thought, okay, if you took the clock off of him, would anyone really know that it was him? I don't know. It's just unrelated. But, if you showed up as Wonder Woman.
There is some truth to that. Because, a lot of times if you've walked by somebody who is a celebrity before or what have you, a lot of times people do a double, triple take because they're not dressed up to show that they're on TV, And so you kind of recognize the face, but you don't quite know where from, and you expect to see them in whatever it is that they had, so... Yeah, I think there's some truth to that for sure. Unless, they are followed around with, 50 bodyguards, and then usually it draws a lot of attention.
That would do it, wouldn't it? Yeah. I want to ask you a question about Lois Lane. I mean, after all the seasons, all the years that you played her, did you learn anything about yourself or from that character who's so self-confident and, strong-willed?
Yeah, you know what? I think it started to, there's so many different things, but I would say one of the major things is that she is very, very confident, and she's okay putting herself out there and dealing with confrontations and that sort of thing. And so, in that sense, being a little bit more extroverted, that drew that out of me because I'm usually kind of just sit back and, if you see me in a social setting, I'm certainly not the one to be in the front telling all the stories and that sort of thing. So I would say that's part of it, and a huge part is just whether it was my character or her, it was that sense of, as we kept working on a show, it's just more and more this sense of fun and wanting to laugh at yourself and not take yourself so seriously and be more forgiving of the little mistakes you make. And she certainly kept picking herself up, and I think that started to curb some of the intensity that I have for being perfectionist, for sure.
All right, quick question, we'll let you go. Do you think, now you made a surprise jump, I think for a lot of people, going from Lois Lane into this Wonder Woman outfit. I don't imagine we'll ever see Tom Welling, who played Superman or Superman to be Clark Kent, on Smallville. I don't imagine we'll ever see him playing a character with superheroes or that wears a costume. Is that a safe bet, do you think?
He was never one that was particularly excited to jump into the tights, and neither am I. But I think that I do have a very bizarre sense of humor and what I think is kind of funny, and I just thought it was such an interesting way of bringing Wonder Woman back in, and for me to do it, and it was just so ironic. And I had met David E. Kelley before earlier in the year, and I just thought, this is kind of full circle, and it's fun, and I kind of trust my gut with that. But I have a pretty bizarre sense of humor, and so sometimes I'll end up taking those kind of risks or doing those kind of roles where people will go, well, it doesn't fit the actual mathematic equation. She should be doing something else. And it's just, sometimes you just kind of do some things that come to you and are interesting to you and compel you. But whether we see him in tights, I'm not sure. Unless it's some kind of bizarre accident.
Wow. Well, folks,
maybe he secretly wears them all the time in his private life, and we'll catch him.
We'll have the paparazzi out looking tonight.
That's right.
Folks, you can see actress Erica Durance tonight, Wednesday, January 11th, 2012, at 9 p.m. on the NBC series Harry's Law. And Erica, thanks so much for joining us on Mr. Media today. It was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. It was really lovely. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. For more original interviews, surf over to our main website, mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. If you've enjoyed today's show, subscribe for free to Mr. Media via email, RSS, or iTunes, and you'll never miss a show. Another good idea, download our new free Mr. Media mobile app in the Android market. You can also listen with a piece of string and a tin can in many parts of the Internet. Show your support of Mr. Media by supporting our sponsors, including Audible. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/radio. Again, that's audibletrial.com/radio for your free audiobook. We're also supported by thepartyauthority.us. Call DJ Ira for all your party entertainment needs nationwide at 1-800-DIAL-DJs or visit their website, thepartyauthority.us. If you've got an idea for a guest, a comment on today's show, or would like to advertise on Mr. Media Radio, email me directly at bob@mrmedia.com, mrmedia.com. You can also call our 24-hour listener line at 1-727-498-4711. Some messages may be used in an upcoming show, and unless you live next door to Mr. Media, there may be a toll charge. You can also follow Mr. Media on Facebook, Twitter, or our new YouTube and Vimeo video channels. Thanks so much for joining us today. I always appreciate you sharing a piece of your day with Mr. Media. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, this is Emmy, and you are listening to Mr. Media.
Hey everybody, this is Bob Andelman from Mr. Media. First of all, I want to thank you for years of support listening to this show. We're starting our 6th year. It's hard to believe, our 6th year as 2012 starts, and heading towards our 1,000th online podcast, audio and video. It's pretty amazing, frankly. I remember starting it several years ago thinking this will never last. And podcasts, that's as stupid a word as blogging. But here we are, starting our 6th year and heading up to 1,000 interviews. And I want to thank everybody for listening and supporting the show. I also want to tell you that one of the things that's been very helpful for this show is Stitcher Radio. Yes, this is sort of a commercial. Now, there are millions of smartphone apps in the world, but I only use one several times a day, Stitcher Radio. I build my own radio station to listen to broadcast and online shows when I want and in the order I want. CNN News Update, Onion Radio News, WTF with Mark Maron, MSNBC's Morning Joe, Studio 60, the TechCrunch headlines, and of course, Mr. Media. It's free. It works on iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, Palm Pre, and much more. And you can get it for free for yourself. Try it out. I guarantee you're going to love it. Stitcher.com/MRmedia. That's Stitcher.com/Mr. Media. You're going to love it. And thanks again for supporting the show.